In this video, I'll show you how to design this simple smartphone amp in Fusion 360 to cut out on CNC. Video is geared towards what I would call an advanced beginner. You know how to create sketches and make some basic 3D models, maybe just getting started with the CAM workspace. We'll use user parameters for some of the parts of the model so that you can easily change it to accommodate different materials that you might want to use. Nice little project, maybe a jumping off point for a more advanced design or just something to do with your new CNC that's kind of fun and useful. First video here, hope you enjoy it, hope you get something good out of it. So we'll jump right in. Thanks. We'll start out with setting some user parameters. These are parameters you'll be able to change later on to suit your need or different materials. This one's the diameter of the amplifier. Set that at 5 inches to start with. Thickness of the top. This is a sandwich of 3 pieces. This is going to be the thickness of the top piece. You could say maybe that setting the thickness separately for all 3 might be a little overkill, but if you wanted to, for example, have walnut on the top and bottom, maple in the middle, and those materials might be a different thickness, this would allow you to do that. Here they're all going to be the same since we're making them out of Baltic birch. All the same pieces. You'll actually see later where the Baltic birch I use is a little different than this, so I make a change into these parameters and it flows through the model easily for making it on the CNC. I put in tool diameter. That's often useful. On the slot, for example, will radius the corners, and the radius will by default be half the diameter of your tool, your cutter. This lets you set that, and the CNC will know that it can do it. The slot width, this is the slot for the phone. You may have a phone that has a case that's quite thick. Maybe you want to make that wider. And then the slot length, I made this for my iPhone 6S. You may need something a little wider, or maybe you want it narrower for a snugger fit. Just things you can change. So those are the parameters. And we'll go from there then, and we'll start. Probably a good first thing to do is to go ahead and save this, save your overall file, and give it a name. I've just called this basic smartphone amp, or round smartphone amp. Save it, and we'll start by making the first component. The first component is going to be the top. Create that, and create a sketch to start. Do that on the XY plane. Make a circle, a round amp. There again, you could put in something. We're going to put in our parameter that we set, amp diameter. Now, finish that sketch. Right click on that face to extrude. We'll extrude it. Again, you start typing in top thickness, and then it'll show it there so you can click on it. And there we have the basic 3D body for the top. Now we'll create a sketch on the face of that. We'll use that sketch to make the slot and some alignment holes. First thing I like to do on these is make some construction lines. Just gives you nice references and things that you can dimension from, so that you end up with defined features. So here I went over and I clicked the dimension and put it in dimension mode, and then made these slots. And then here you see my first mistake. I've still got it in dimension mode, and I go to make the rectangle for the slot, and it is just a construction rectangle. not useful for extruding or for actually modifying the body. So rather than edit this out, I'll just show you how I recovered from it. First I thought, oh, maybe I'll just select the rectangle, but you can't. You'd have to select every line. So I'll just undo. Command Z or Control Z. Now turn off construction and go and make this rectangle again. We'll use our parameters, slot width, slot length. As we do that, you'll see that the rectangle is still blue. It means it's not fully defined. So there are times if you're doing something quick and dirty and you don't want to fully define something, the world's not going to end, but it is a good practice to fully define it. By putting dimensions between this and the construction lines or the center point of the circle, we'll be able to fully define the rectangle, which again is a good practice. One thing I did find, working on the face of a circle, it's sort of difficult sometimes to get things black. What I found is that you can take the construction lines that I made and fix those. Usually fix or unfix is sort of, some people will call it a bit of a hack, but I think for the construction lines like that, it's fully acceptable. And so now the things that I dimensioned from those construction lines, it'll help define them and turn them black. Here I'm going to make a couple of 5/16 alignment holes. I've just learned from doing it that 0.318 makes a nice size hole that the dowel fits in snugly without having to pound it in too hard. Here I'll dimension it from the center. Now it turns black as it's fully defined. And rather than create another one, I'll just use the mirror function. I'll select the circle to mirror, and then for the mirror line, I'll select that middle construction line. That's another great use for those. So finish that sketch. And extrude out the slot. A number of different ways you can do this. I just put in minus top thickness. That way, again, if you update that parameter, this will be updated automatically. So there's the slot. And it turns off the sketch. I'm not sure why it does that, but it will turn that sketch off. So now you can't see your circles. So you can just go back in, turn that sketch back on. Select those two circles. Zoom in a little bit so I can select. And then I'll extrude those. But I'll only go halfway through. This is actually the bottom of the top. So this will go, I'll do it top thickness divided by 2. So it goes halfway through. That way the dowels won't show on the top of the amp. So that's, let's see. Yes, also want to put the radius or the fillets in the slots. You could have done the fillets on the rectangle, but it will make it, it'll remove the constraints. I've heard some much more advanced users say that it's better to do this on the body. It uses less resources. I don't know, but that's what they say, so that's what I do. And I made that fillet half the tool diameter, so you know that it'll be able to cut it. The CNC will be able to cut it with that. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and save this version. Again, maybe overkill here, but call this top complete. Save that. Now go up and activate the entire design again. And we'll make another new component, and this one is going to be the bottom. Bottom's going to be basically the same as the top. It's going to have the slot and the Oh, so now it's asking you where you want to create the sketch. And here's where I make another mistake. And instead of selecting the XY plane, I selected the top face. At the time, I didn't even know I was doing that. We'll leave it in there and you'll see how I fix that later. So I'm going to create a sketch. And I think I'm going to create a circle rather in the sketch. Again, this one's going to be round just like that with amp diameter. Finish that sketch and extrude it to bottom thickness. And we'll create a sketch on that face. Use that to make the alignment holes and the hole and slot for the charging cable. Create a circle. It's going to be in line with the slot, which is a 1/2 inch from the middle. Make it a 1/2 inch hole. Sort of arbitrary. Zoom in. The slot, no real precision required here. We'll just draw a couple lines from the circle to the edge. Not too worried about exactly where we put them. We'll add dimensions later that'll fully define the sketch. You could even right there, you could basically use that as is again, but we'll go ahead and fully define it. I had neglected to put the middle construction lines, as I said before. Go ahead and do that. Construction mode. You can also make the lines and then click select them and then go over and hit that, and it won't put you in that mode. Both ways work. The problem with this is sometimes you can forget, as I did before, and you'll be drawing elements and they'll be construction elements instead of part of your model. Again, trying to get everything to turn black. If it's not black, you can try things like moving it, as I did there, and try and figure out, what is the reason that it's not fully defined. Here again, I made the construction lines, but I didn't fix them. I have issues getting things fully defined on a circle. It's a lot easier in a rectangle or a square. You can dimension from the sides, and it seems fairly easy to get things fully defined. With a circle, I usually have to go through some gyrations like this. So here I'm going to make it coincident with that center line. I am still wondering why it's not, and then I think at some point I get smart enough to fix those two lines, and voila, now we have the circle fully defined. Now we'll work on getting the lines for the slot fully defined. Oh, let's see. I believe if we define a dimension from that center line to there, again, kind of arbitrary. We'll pick 0.3 or 0.2 rather. That'll make the whole slot 0.4 wide, and then we'll be able to easily cut that with our 1/4 inch diameter bit. So now, all right, both of those have turned black, means they're fully defined. When we created them, they were tangent to both the circle and the edge of the amp. So that was already okay. I'm going to extrude that hole through and make it minus bottom thickness, which again will take it all the way through. Turns off the sketch. We'll turn the sketch back on. Select that, and we'll extrude that, and we'll go down just say like 1/8 of an inch, just again to make room for the cable to come out so that the amp will still sit flat on the table. So now we'll make the alignment holes for the bottom. Now for this, we're going to have to take them all the way through. If we want to do them halfway through, it would have to be from the other side, and we would have a two-sided operation on this bottom piece. You're not going to see those dowels on the bottom anyway, so it's really not worth the trouble for that. So I should have made those in the sketch with the slot and the charging hole, but we can just make another sketch. The problem there is I don't have my construction lines. I'd have to make those again. So let's just delete that sketch. Another boo-boo I'm leaving in here for you, and we'll edit. So you can go back and edit a sketch that you did before, and we'll add the holes to that and then extrude them from there. You can see at the bottom of the timeline, we're actually back in time a little bit. So we'll make the holes again. What was it, 0.318 for the 5/16 dowels. Now since I have my, I'll dimension that rather from the construction line that I have. And now it's defined, and again, I'll be able to mirror. So this is why it was worth just deleting that other sketch and just editing this sketch, which I should have done in the first place. Mirror across that. There's our line. Now finish the sketch. The other extrusions are still there as before, and we're back where we were in the timeline. There's a normalized view. Select these, and again extrude them all the way through, or minus bottom thickness, so that if we update that parameter, this will change with it. So now there's the bottom complete. Still in the wrong plane, but we'll again we'll fix that later. Go ahead and do another version. Save here, bottom complete. Okay, now 2 components done. Now we go up and activate top level again. New component for our center. Create a sketch, XY plane. Start out like before with a circle, specify the diameter, amp diam. Oh, this is pretty much like before. Finish the sketch. Extrude to center thickness. Now we'll create a sketch on the face of that to cut out the shape for the sound chamber. Make some construction lines. We're definitely going to do some mirroring. Really, this is probably the only one we need. But go ahead and make another one. Just takes a moment. And now we will, while we're still in construction mode, put, this is just to give us some reference for where the phone will be setting. You could, use this and look on the bottom of your phone, see where the speaker port is, just to make sure that it's going into the sound chamber. This time we actually did want it to be a construction element, and there that is. Now we'll turn off construction mode. I'm not going to make any alignment holes here. It's going to be exactly the same as before. Now to make the sound chamber, I'm going to use a fit point spline. I've experimented with different kinds of shapes, tried making a parabola. I'm definitely no audio engineer. I haven't really noticed a huge difference in the different kinds. So we're just going to kind of freehand something here, and something that's aesthetically pleasing. And we'll do half of it starting from this center construction line. And we'll be able to edit it as we need to. And there are the X's that were tangent to the outside. Now we've got that, and you can see where the bottom of it is under the slot. And we'll just mirror that one across the center. Okay. Looks pretty good. Again, that's something you could experiment with, try different shapes, see if you notice any difference. For these, the alignment holes again will go all the way through, and that port cutout will go all the way through, so this is easy enough to extrude. Just minus center thickness. That'll cut those all the way. And that's really it for the center. Now we have all three components. And there, now it's quite obvious that the center is in the wrong plane. I want to put some fillets on here. Just don't like the sharp edges. Doesn't cut that well, and just something else you have to sand. So here we'll just put some fillets on the body, pick an arbitrary 1/4 inch radius. Smooth it out a bit. So now we'll fix where the bottom one was started on the wrong plane. Obviously not the first person to do this, because now they actually have a redefined sketch plane. I think that was added somewhat recently. Sometimes it's where I had difficulty before, was actually selecting the right plane, but you can go under the origin and just select XY, and there it moves it perfectly where we want it. So now that's all done. All of the pieces are complete. Should be just about ready to go to cam. We'll save it one final time. So now we'll jump into cam, get this ready to cut on the CNC. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. If there's interest, maybe I will make another one using different materials. First thing you do is make a new setup. This is all going to be one setup since they're all from the same material. I like to change my stock box point to the lower left. That's a preference. Stock defaults to relative. I like a fixed size. I either just round it up or make it a size that's convenient to clamp on my CNC. In this case, we'll just make some room around the edges. So we have plenty of space for the cutter. The height is going to be the same as the material thickness. This is where you can't bring the parameters forward that we created before, at least not a way that I know of. If there is a way, please put it in the comments. Yeah, by default, it doesn't select any of the models. You can ignore that warning, or I just like to clean it up, so I go back and select all three. And this is where if you just wanted to cut out one or two, you could make different setups with different model selections. And so the first thing I like to do is the middle type operations, because that way things are held quite firmly without having the contours cut out. So we'll do the slots, or the slot rather, and the alignment holes. I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch upcut, a white side bit that's fairly common, pretty good general purpose for stuff like this. So sometimes it's a little hard to get the geometry selected. I think maybe it's because I picked pocket here. I probably should have picked contour since these are going all the way through. But this will work. You just sometimes have to turn it around the right way to be able to select what you want. It can be a little tricky. But we'll get all those selected. And there I selected, that is actually the only real pocket here, and I probably should have done that in a separate operation. I'll explain why in just a moment when we go to the Heights tab. I usually put things like these on my spoil board with an 1/8 inch in between, 1/8 inch scrap in between, and then I set the bottom height to 20 thousandths below the selected contour. That way you're sure it cuts all the way through. Now that means that pocket is actually going to be 20 thousandths deeper. In this case, it really doesn't matter, but not really the right way to do it if it did matter. Change some of the basics here, multiple depths. I do this a 1/4 inch at a time in this plywood with that good cutter and stiff CNC, no problem. Some of the stuff here, I always find I have to change the safe distance and make it a little closer, or you end up with some problems with the toolpath that I, to be honest, don't quite understand. NYC CNC does some good videos on that. That's where I learned to do it. I also get this where it has some warnings, and I've seen in some of the forums where this was a bug, where it cannot plunge outside stock. Well, I'm not asking it to, but okay, the toolpath will still work. I wish that little symbol wasn't there, but it doesn't really hurt anything. Maybe if anyone else knows, what I would need to change to make that go away, please let me know. We'll rename this operation slots and holes. Slot and holes. Now we'll make an operation 2D contour to cut out the pieces. This one is super simple, defaults to the same tool. We'll use that. Geometry's easy. We're just using the outside contours. I want to have some tabs to hold it in place. I like the tabs a little bigger than the default. Most of the defaults here are for metalworking. And a lot of the stuff, I think it's assuming you have a multi-$100,000 vertical machining center. So that's why some of these come up like to 4/10 precision, which really makes no sense here for us. Again, the 20 thousandths below. Tolerance. I don't need 4/10 thousandths. It also wants to default to climb milling usually. With the route, it really doesn't make a difference, but still change that. Again, do a 1/4 inch at a time, and then I'll tell it to use even step downs. So for this, it'll take it and divide it into even as close to 0.25 max as it can, rather than do 0.25s until there may be just even a tiny bit of stock left, and then do that one last. Okay, you can see that toolpath. You can see the tabs there. That's pretty straightforward. And one thing you can do is a setup sheet, and it'll make an HTML file. It'll give you like your stock size. Sometimes it's handy to print that, at least the first page and keep it with you, or keep it associated with this file, and you'll know, hey, I need a 19 by 6 piece of Baltic birch for this. And we'll generate the G code. Mine's obviously set up. I have a Centroid Acorn on a homebrew CNC. Call this just I call it basic ground amp. Save that. So when I picked 0.724 inches for the material thickness, it was kind of a swag, and I went out and measured the Baltic birch that I have and find out it's actually goes from about 0.706 to 712. So I picked 0.708, 0.708 for the thickness. So it gives an opportunity here to show how you would go in and change these parameters quite easily, and then again, it feeds through the whole model. Very easy to do. Then you can go back into the manufacture space. And the one thing, and this is, as I said before, those, at least I haven't found a way to bring those parameters through to the setup. So you do have to go to the stock, and if it's going to be the same thickness, you need to remember what it was and set it there. But that's it. And then regenerate the G code, or we could have just gone up and just generated the file again. There's the same errors, same annoying errors. Could have just done this and it would have regenerated the code. Select the same file and just overwrite it. Okay. And then I actually have a share. My CNC is out in the shop and it uses a Windows 10 PC. So I have a share from it where I just drag and drop the files. And then now it's on my control PC. So this is really just for fun. It's not really part of the scope of the video, which was just show you how to design it. This is my homebrew CNC cutting out some of the parts. Speed it up so you don't have to sit through watching a machine move around some. But for folks just getting started, maybe you don't have a CNC yet or you're just getting going, it can be fun to watch sometime. Here cutting out the slot, obviously. There are the circles for the bottom. At some point you'll see it. It's doing a 1/4 inch at a time, or it did even step down. So whatever 0.708 or 728 divided by 3 is probably. There you can see it making the tabs. It lifts up and leaves a little bit at the bottom to hold the tab in. That's part of what I think I mentioned earlier. I like to do the slot and the other things in the middle because that way you don't have just those little tabs holding the piece in place while you could be doing some fairly hefty operations. Get it out. I like to use a multi-tool to cut the tabs. You can also use a chisel. Here I'm just doing some rough operations to get the remains of the tabs off and some of the splintering and whatnot, just so that it doesn't interfere with the glue up of the pieces. Here you can see where the alignment dowels really help. When you're trying to clamp it up with the glue in there, they're not squirming and sliding around. This holds them in place pretty firmly and lines them up pretty precisely. Makes it quite a bit easier. So after that, it's just letting it dry, some sanding, cut off the dowels, finish. I think I put a shellac on this, just something simple. I'm going to leave you with a clip of one of my favorite clips from Uncle Buck showing it in use. Again, first video, folks. Old dog, new tricks. Cut me some slack if you would. Love to hear comments. Thank you.
Buck melanoma, Molly Russell's wart. Not her wart, not her wart. I'm the wart. She's my tumor, my growth, My pimple. I'm Uncle Wart. Just old Buck Wart Russell. That's what they call me. Or melanoma head. They'll call me that. Melanoma head's coming.